Have you ever felt like your mind had a mind of its own? One negative thought sneaks in, and suddenly it feels like a storm of doubt, fear, and worry is taking over. It's not just distracting, it's exhausting. But what if I told you there's a way to stop that storm, a way to transform those thoughts and take control of your mental space? Here's the truth. Negative thoughts aren't just random. They don't appear out of nowhere, even though it might feel that way. These thoughts are patterns, habits your mind has picked up, often without you even realizing it. Over time, your brain learns to repeat these patterns, creating loops of doubt, fear, or self-criticism. It's like a well-worn path in the forest. The more you walk it, the easier it becomes to go down that road again. Think about it. Maybe a past failure made you believe you're not good enough. Or perhaps someone's harsh words planted a seed of insecurity. Over time, these moments shape the stories your mind tells you, stories like, "I'll never succeed," or "Why even bother?" And before you know it, these stories become so familiar, they feel like truth. But here's the thing. Just as these patterns were created, they can be unlearned. The brain is remarkable. It has the ability to rewire itself through a process called neuroplasticity. Every time you choose to challenge a negative thought, you're breaking that old pattern and creating a new one. The question is, how do you do this? How do you stop negative thoughts from taking over and create space for positivity, clarity, and growth? That's what we'll explore today. By the end of this journey, you'll not only know why these thoughts arise, but also how to manage them, reframe them, and even turn them into stepping stones toward a better, more empowered version of yourself. As the philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This journey isn't about perfection or silencing every negative thought forever. It's about building resilience, awareness, and control over your mental patterns. Are you ready to take that first step toward mastering your mind? Let's begin. Now that we've taken the first step, let's dive deeper into the nature of negative thoughts. To truly master them, you need to understand what they are, where they come from, and why they hold so much power. Negative thoughts often feel like uninvited guests in your mind. They sneak in quietly and linger, turning a simple moment of doubt into a spiral of worry or self-criticism. But here's the truth. These thoughts aren't just random. They're automatic reactions shaped by your past experiences, environment, and beliefs. Think of them as shortcuts your brain has created to protect you. Imagine touching a hot stove as a child. Your brain learned quickly, stoves are dangerous. This was useful because it kept you safe. But when the same system applies to emotional experiences, like failing at something or being rejected, it creates mental shortcuts that don't always serve you. For example, someone in childhood once told you, "You're not smart enough." Now, every time you face a challenge, your brain defaults to that thought as a way to protect you from failure. Or maybe you tried something new and failed. Instead of seeing it as a lesson, your mind labeled it, "I'm not capable." Over time, these thoughts form patterns, like well-trodden paths in your mind. The more you think them, the deeper the groove becomes. Eventually, they don't just pop up during difficult moments, they start running on autopilot. Have you ever noticed that negative thoughts seem to stick while positive ones feel fleeting? There's a reason for that. Our brains are hardwired for negativity, a phenomenon known as the negativity bias. This bias evolved to help our ancestors survive. Back then, focusing on potential threats, like a lurking predator, was essential. But in today's world, this same system keeps us hyper-focused on what's wrong, even when there's no real danger. As psychologist Rick Hansen puts it, the brain is like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. This means negative thoughts stick easily, while positive ones often slide away unnoticed. But just because your brain works this way doesn't mean you're powerless. In fact, understanding this bias is the first step to overcoming it. When left unchecked, negative thoughts don't just stay in your head, they shape your reality. Here's how. Self-fulfilling prophecies. If you constantly think, "I'll fail," you're less likely to take risks or try new things. Over time, this belief becomes your reality, not because it's true, but because you've stopped giving yourself a chance. Emotional drain. Dwelling on negative thoughts drains your energy, making it harder to focus, be productive, or enjoy life. Physical impact. Research shows that persistent negativity can increase stress hormones like cortisol, leading to fatigue, headaches, and even a weakened immune system. It's not just about mental health, it's about your overall well-being. As Buddha once said, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." The good news is, you can change the pattern. Here's the empowering truth. Negative thoughts are not permanent. They're habits of the mind, and like any habit, they can be broken. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself, means that every time you challenge a negative thought, you're creating a new path. Over time, these new paths become stronger, and the old, unhelpful ones fade away. Imagine your mind as a garden. Right now, there might be weeds, negative thoughts, taking up space. But you have the power to pull those weeds and plant new seeds, thoughts of resilience, hope, and strength. Take a moment to reflect. What are the negative thought patterns you notice most often in yourself? Can you trace them back to specific experiences or beliefs? How have these thoughts impacted your choices, relationships, or overall happiness? Awareness is the first step to transformation. By recognizing the patterns in your mind, you're already starting to break free. Now that we've uncovered the roots of negative thinking, let's explore the science of how to redirect those thoughts. This isn't just about positive thinking. It's about rewiring your brain using tools and techniques grounded in psychology and neuroscience. As we discussed earlier, your brain has a built-in negativity bias. But what does that mean on a deeper level? This bias is tied to survival. Your ancestors needed to pay close attention to danger, like predators or natural disasters, to stay alive. This made their brains hyper-alert to threats. While it was useful back then, today it often turns minor worries into major stressors. Neuroscientists explain that repeated negative thinking strengthens certain neural pathways in your brain. Picture a hiking trail. The more you walk it, the clearer and easier it becomes to follow. The same thing happens in your mind. Each time you think, "I'm not good enough," that thought becomes easier to revisit. Over time, it feels automatic. But here's the good news. You can create new trails. When you consistently challenge and redirect negative thoughts, you strengthen new, healthier pathways. This process, called neuroplasticity, is the foundation of change. Before you can redirect a thought, you have to notice it. Negative thoughts often run in the background, like a program on autopilot. The first step is to interrupt that cycle with awareness. A helpful tool is the Name It to Tame It technique, introduced by Dr. Siegel. Here's how it works. When a negative thought arises, stop and name it. For example, say, "I'm feeling anxious," or "That's self-doubt speaking." By naming the thought, you activate the rational part of your brain, reducing the emotional intensity. Think of this as stepping outside the thought rather than being consumed by it. When you name it, you separate yourself from it. Once you've caught the negative thought, the next step is to redirect your focus. Remember, your mind is like a flashlight, and whatever you shine it on becomes brighter. If you focus on the negative, it grows. But if you shift your attention to something constructive, the negativity fades. Here's a simple exercise. Pause and take 3 deep breaths, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Ask yourself, what's one thing I'm grateful for right now? It could be as simple as the warmth of your coffee or the sound of a bird outside. Write it down or say it out loud. This reinforces the thought in your brain. Gratitude is more than just a feel-good practice. Research shows that focusing on gratitude activates the brain's reward system, releasing dopamine and serotonin, chemicals that boost mood and counteract stress. One of the most powerful tools for redirecting negative thoughts is reframing. It's not about denying reality, it's about choosing to see it from a different angle. Here's an example. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. Your first thought might be, "This is so frustrating, I'll never get there on time." Instead, try reframing. "I can use this time to listen to my favorite podcast. This delay gives me a chance to practice patience." By shifting your perspective, you take control of the narrative. You're no longer a victim of the situation, you're the storyteller. As Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Did you know that low stimulation activities, like scrolling on your phone or sitting idle, can actually make negative thoughts worse? When your brain isn't fully engaged, it has more empty space to fill, and it often fills it with worry or self-doubt. Instead, try high-stimulation activities that require focus. Read a gripping book or listen to an engaging podcast. Work on a creative project like painting, writing, or cooking. Exercise, whether it's a brisk walk, yoga, or dancing. These activities take up more mental space, leaving less room for negativity to creep in. They also release endorphins, boosting your mood naturally. When a negative thought feels particularly sticky, visualization can help. Here's a technique to try. Close your eyes and picture the thought as a small object, like a leaf or a feather. Imagine placing it on a river. Watch as the current carries it away, further and further, until it's out of sight. This simple practice reminds you that thoughts are temporary. They come and go like waves on a shore. You don't have to hold on to them. Here's something powerful to remember. Your brain learns through repetition. The more you practice redirecting negative thoughts, the easier it becomes. You've made it to the end of this journey, and now you hold the tools to take control of your mind. The truth is, negative thoughts will always try to sneak in, but you are no longer at their mercy. You now understand how they work, why they appear, and, most importantly, how to transform them. Remember, your mind is not your enemy, it's your most powerful tool. The thoughts you feed will shape your reality, so choose the ones that uplift you, inspire you, and help you grow. This is what Mind Club is all about, building a space where your mind becomes your greatest ally. Together, we explore practical ways to unlock your full potential and create a life you truly deserve. You're not just learning, you're transforming. And with every step forward, you're joining a collective of people who are committed to mastering their thoughts and shaping their futures. As you leave this video, ask yourself, what's one small change I can make today? Whether it's trying a breathing exercise, reframing a negative thought, or journaling for clarity, every action counts. Progress isn't about perfection, it's about showing up day by day and choosing to grow. Thank you for watching. If this resonated with you, like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Together, let's build a community that thrives on growth, resilience, and positivity.